During the early stages of World War II, the UK was at times fighting alone with the Hitler's army, faced the threat of invasion. Because of insufficient resources, the UK had to ask for the US help, and they received very positive assistance. So, what has the US benefited from helping the UK? On September 1st, 1939, Germany invaded Poland. Immediately, the UK and French allies issued an ultimatum to Hitler, demanding his troops withdraw from Poland. Hitler pretended not to hear, so the UK and France joined the war. However, they not only couldn't protect Poland but also faced the risk of German invasion. On May 10, 1940, Germany attacked France. Just 46 days, France collapsed. The UK realized the bad situation, so they sought US help. But the US didn't agree because of the Neutrality Act of 1939. The UK needed aid, not the US help. Then the US gave the UK 50 old destroyers from World War I. But the UK must give the US a 99-year free lease of land in Newfoundland and some other areas for them to set up military bases. In March 1941, the US realized that the UK was weak against Hitler, and if the UK was defeated, the US's security would be threatened. So they changed their policy from neutral to indirectly participated in the World War. The US proceeded to manufacture and supply weapons to all nations against the Axis powers. The total value they provided to the war was more than $50 billion. The US provided the UK with tanks, aircraft, bombs, food, and medical supplies with a total value of $31.4 billion. The UK had no money to pay, so the payment would be postponed after the war and could be paid in any form the Americans consider satisfactory. For the US, helping the UK as well as helping them defeat Hitler without getting involved. However, in July 1941, Japan bombed the US fleet in Pearl Harbor, Hawaii, to make the US had to join the fight. Since then, the relationship between the US and the UK had completely changed. Not just trading, they had become friends and allies. Especially, Prime Minister Roosevelt and Churchill, who were great leaders, regularly discussed strategic intentions. From 1941 to 1944, they exchanged more than 1,000 letters and telegrams, and even met 4 times at Roosevelt's home to discuss. So, the US and the UK became near and dear. They shared intelligence together, weapons and military secrets, Nazi codes and atomic bombs. In general, there were a lot of important things that helped defeat the Axis powers. After World War II, their relationship was strengthened through a series of events. By the end of 1945, Soviet troops were present in most of Eastern European countries. Stalin intended to turn them into satellite states. They feared that communism would expand in Europe and World War III might break out. The UK and the US discussed a contingency plan which set off the Cold War that would last decades. That was also why the military organization NATO was established in 1949 as a defensive alliance between the UK, the US, and European countries. From 1950 to 1953, the British soldiers also fought in the US in the North Korean War. In 1956, their relationship was a bit troubled when the UK and France supported Israel's invasion of Egypt to gain control of the Suez Canal. The reason was because Egypt wanted to monopolize the canal as its own. While the canal was built by the French and was allowed to remain until 1968, the fact that the UK participated in the war made the US extremely angry. In Egypt, the Soviet Union assisted them and warned that if the UK and France did not withdraw, the Soviet Union would drop nuclear missiles on Western Europe. The US also issued a warning and ordered the UK and France to withdraw troops before receiving economic sanctions. Their relationship became the most strained since they were allies. However, faced with the growth and threats from the Soviet Union, they discussed the plan together. In 1958, the US-UK Mutual Defense Agreement was signed, whereby the United States transferred nuclear secrets to the UK. As a result, the UK conducted nuclear testing. In 1982, the Falklands War broke out between the UK and Argentina. Because the Argentina wanted to occupy the islands that belonged to the UK, the US supported the UK to join this war. In 1990, Iraq invaded and occupied Kuwait for oil. The UK quickly joined the US in the name of the United Nations Army to force Iraq to withdraw Kuwait. In 1999, together, they participated in the war in Kosovo. In addition, the British Army joined the US in invasion of Afghanistan in 2001 and Iraq in 2003. In general, the UK and US have been together in many wars, so they had a very special relationship, although sometimes there was tension because of the power struggle.